Welcome to the Seller Roundtable e-commerce coaching and business strategies with Andy Arnott and Amy Wees.
So, Mike, actually, I want to circle back here real quick. Usman asked, can you give a bit of insight into fixed bidding? So, Usman, when you create a campaign, Amazon, I think about a year ago now, it might have been a little longer, kind of had these three options where the what it used to be before these options was reduce bids if it's less likely to convert. Then there's raise or reduce bids depending on if it's likely to convert, and then fixed bid, which is like absolutely do not touch my bids. I know better than you, Amazon. So that's what we're talking about when we're getting into those fixed biddings and or fixed bidding on the campaigns. And Mike made a great point, and I've talked about this before, is that either any of those options won't work well until the data's there, right? Usually it's about a minimum of 2 weeks before those actually go to work. And what I've noticed is if you enable them too early, you actually will just burn money. What do you think about that, Mike? Am I on point there? Or?
Are you talking about enabling the dynamic up and down and dynamic down only?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Like the three options. Yeah.
Yeah. So by default in 2019, it was dynamic down only. So I would say a safe bet would be to use that or fixed bidding to start. I would not touch dynamic up and down until you have plenty of data. And even at that, I would test it and just look at it every couple of days to make sure you're not bleeding money. Because when you do that, you're allowing Amazon to raise your bid by up to 100%. And like I said before, they love to spend your money.
Absolutely. So Vanessa asked, we were talking about coupons. Do they have an expiration date? Vanessa, they do, but so a lot of people get promotions and coupons mixed up. Coupons is a little bit newer than promotions. Promotions are those, things that you can spin up that's either a single code or single use codes, and that's the ones where you used to put on launch services and things like that. And then coupons are actually will show up on the page on Amazon. It's that orange little badge that says like, hey, get an extra $1 off. Those are coupons. That's what we're talking about, and it's in your under your marketing column in your Seller Central dashboard. There you can find the coupons selection. I just want to make sure. Steven's asking, understanding that driving external traffic to a new listing won't have the same conversion versus PPC, to what extent does that help drive ranking in the early days? So Steven's asking about, kind of launching, with diverse traffic versus PPC. I think, Steven, is what you're saying. Mike, what's your theory on that in terms of, PPC along with offsite diverse traffic?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to combine both. And I would take advantage of PPC first because that's going to have the highest conversion rate. But then if you can layer on rebates, if you have your own audience, that'd be even better to start to drive traffic from all sorts of channels. So I think a diverse launching strategy is the way to go. But a lot of sellers are just doing PPC and doing quite well with that.
Yeah, absolutely. The sad thing is PPC, you actually used to be able to rank just with PPC alone. It's not quite the case anymore. I mean, you definitely can increase your rankings with PPC, of course, because it's sales driven, but you used to be able to get really aggressive with PPC and rank organically. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case anymore. Mike, what do you what's your experience right now with video ads? I know that for us, video ads have been killing in terms of return on investments. We've been getting like a ROAS of like 7 on a lot of keywords and things like that. And what I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, is that it is back to 2015 in terms of keywords on those video ads. Like they're pretty much showing your ad to almost any keyword that you put in there, as long as it's semi-relevant. What's your experiences with video ads for yourself or your clients, and what do you see that's working?
Yeah, absolutely. Video ads are working really well right now. In fact, they are by far the hottest ad type. And I think it's going to get even better before it gets more congested. So back, about a year ago, they launched video ads, I think the end of 2019, and it was a really good hot opportunity. If you're selling overseas, it's brand new right now. So if you're selling in Germany and the UK, make sure you take advantage of that as well. These video ads right now don't have to be super crazy or sophisticated. You don't have to go spend thousands of dollars. You may even be able to get away with like a slideshow or even like your own video phone, doing something with your own phone. Something simple and easy, but take advantage of this right now because it is hot. It is the very best. And when you think about it, it is taking up such a massive amount of real estate. So it's taking up the same amount of real estate as 4 sponsored product ads, which is insane. And it's a beautiful looking ad. So it's when you think about the price, you're also not paying until somebody clicks on your ad. So you're getting all of that visibility for your brand and only having to pay when somebody who's really interested in your product clicks on your ad and goes to the product listing. So that's why the conversions are really good and the performance is really good. And even from a brand visibility standpoint, it's an excellent play right now. So if you're looking for a quick tip, go to Canva. You can make some videos there. It's really super cheap. You can hire someone on Fiverr. There are some affordable options. When you start getting a little more expensive, like $250 to $300, you can get a little bit more of a higher quality video, but you don't have to do that early on, especially now. I think eventually you will have to do that as the bigger players come into space. There's more competition. Your production quality is going to have to go up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. We were talking about using Canva for videos. I think was it last episode, Amy? That's absolutely a great tool, especially if you don't really know what you're doing. It's kind of like I told Amy I spun up a video in under 5 minutes for one of my products using that, and I absolutely agree. And it used to be the headline ads, right? Like a couple of years ago, headline ads. Nobody's using headline ads, but you got this like huge, massive real estate on the top of the search results. I would say, yeah. Now, I mean, if I were gonna choose between the two, I'd go video ads, like you said. Especially if you make that ad really eye popping. There's definitely I've been like looking on purpose, like just searching Amazon and seeing the ads that people are doing just to get ideas for myself. And some brands are doing some really really cool stuff. So I suggest that you guys do that. Just start searching Amazon on the desktop, and they're doing it on the mobile as well, but I don't see it as much. I think they're just kind of testing it here and there on mobile. Um, but check it out because the some of the video ads that they're doing are really cool. Mike, people always debate me on day parting. What are your feelings on day parting, and how can people put day parting to work for their PPC?
Feelings on day parting. So, we have that enabled in our tool. A lot of sellers use it. I'm not a huge fan of day parting. I feel like there's still opportunities to sell throughout the entire part of the day. Plus, we don't have the data. If we had the data to really tell us exactly, when people were purchasing our products, then I would say, okay, go ahead and do it. But we really don't. So I would say bid optimization in general is just the way to go with that. That's my take. I don't know what your take is, Andy, but I would say day parting, it's not right now worth the extra time and effort. I'd rather put that into creative work. I'd rather put that into branding. I'd rather put that into expansion. I think there's other ways to spend your time.
Yeah. It's day parting for me. I've seen some mixed results, on both sides. Where I really do like day parting is during busy holidays, like right now. And the reason why I love day parting during this time of year is because a lot of times I won't even start displaying ads until like noon, or depending on your account, sometimes 10 a.m., sometimes 7. It just depends. We kind of look at last year's data and then look at this year's data in terms of kind of time of day people are shopping. And then what we've noticed though is that later in the day, as people budget out, right, because so many sellers don't know this time of year that the more important thing is to not touch your bids and touch your budgets, right? So like if you
Right.
had for example, like $100 a budget on your campaign every day, like the first thing you should do is just change that budget to a higher budget and see if you burn through it, right? If you do, then you make it to 300, then you make it to 400, as long as you're in a hitting your target A costs, or whatever goal that you're going for there. But then you go back, if you get to a point where you're now no longer topping that budget out, then that's when you can start raising bids. But I always like to say go budget first, then bids, especially for Q4 and the holidays.
Right. Yeah. I would say that's a good idea. And also budgeting in terms of like the goal of the campaign. So a lot of sellers, they're spending a lot of budget on more discovery based campaigns, and that could get very expensive. So start to think about where you want to allocate your budget. And those like maybe 20% or 30% goes to discovery to get that brand awareness. And then you can allocate it I would love to have campaigns that are running at a 20% ACOS and uncap that budget and get sales all day long and not have to worry about budgeting or day parting or anything like that. Just get the sales all day long. But for campaigns that are discovery, I may want to consider doing more day parting because that could become very expensive. I could blow through that aspect of my budget a lot sooner. So that's just one more little caveat to add in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. And so we got a couple more questions. Usman's asking, is it possible to lay out a launch strategy for a product? Should we just focus on PPC or PPC or external traffic. Usman, Amy and I talk about this all the time. I don't know, Mike, how you feel, but I always love, especially when launching, to do diverse traffic. To me, the more natural looking the traffic is, the more Amazon will reward you in terms of ranking and even, converting on PPC. A trick that a lot of people don't realize that they can do is you can say, for example, you're targeting pay per clip. You can send a Google ad or even a Facebook ad, but I like Google because the clicks are cheap, to Amazon, to the keyword paperclip, and with a two-step URL, or depending on how you can frame that. It doesn't work quite as well as it used to, but you can drop the results where your product is in the results with that keyword, and then use the ad. So in other words, you're bidding on that keyword as well, so that when they come from Google, they go to Amazon, and then they click on your ad, and then the Amazon algorithm goes, oh wow, this ad's really getting a lot of play, and then they'll start tamping up more and more traffic for giving you more and more impressions and traffic for those keywords. So I absolutely love diverse traffic, Pinterest, Google, wherever you can get that traffic from, influencers, Instagram, wherever you can get it from, wherever your target customers live, for sure. Mike, what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. And just to add to what Andy said, make sure that you have some kind of strategy and budget in place for this, because it can get very expensive very quickly. So if you're spending, let's say, a certain amount of money on your advertising budget and your outside traffic budget, make sure you know what that is and how long this launch strategy is going to be. Otherwise, it could just really eat into your product's profitability. But like Andy said, a diverse strategy is really, really good. And combining that with advertising, I believe, is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, in terms of, I was talking a little bit about headline ads. In terms of headline ads and product targeting ads, where do you think people go wrong in both of those those ad types? Because, you know, that's kind of the next level of advertising on Amazon, right? Like the auto campaigns, the manual campaigns, those are kind of like the basics, right? You said, if you're just starting out, definitely that's what you want to do. But let's go into, kind of the upper echelon here in terms of headline ads, product targeting ads. Where do you think people go wrong once they start dabbling in that realm?
Yeah. So what's really exciting is that you can do product targeting across all the different ad types now. So what I would really suggest people do is they go to Amazon and look at all the different ad types and really get familiar with where the ads show up and what you're actually bidding on, because it can be quite overwhelming. Go through Amazon, go through the search results, go through the product detail pages, and just start to get a picture as to like where things are showing up, and also start to visualize your strategy with all these different things. Because if you're talking about product targeting, now, that's really going to show up on product detail pages and also search results, which is a little bit confusing. And I think sellers get a little, have a little trouble with that as well. But product targeting is available on sponsored product, sponsored brand, and sponsored display. When we're talking about sponsored product ads, these ads can still show up on search results. So, for example, if I do product targeting, I'm targeting a certain ASIN. I'm also targeting the search terms related to that ASIN as well. So, just keep that in mind, that you're going after that ASIN and wherever that ASIN shows up. Also, that ASIN's product detail page as well. Now, you want to leverage the auto campaign and category targeting campaigns to then harvest those ASINs and then use them in a diversified approach across all three ad types. Now, that's the basic way to get started. You get those ASINs, put them in sponsored brand ads, sponsored product ads, and sponsored display ads. Now, product targeting is available, and you start to build out your strategy from there. Now, there's all sorts of great ways to build upon that. In fact, Andy, someone just released a nugget for the Days of Nuggets on how to find an incredible amount of ASINs to target using product targeting. And I'm going to release this nugget now because why not? They suggested going to Keepa, and they list out all of the child variations quickly and easily in a Keepa search. I think it's like $9 a month. And then you take all that, you put it into one campaign, and you target all of those ASINs with a relatively low bid. I think he suggested like 0.7% of your average cost per click, and then you start from there. And he has really done really well with sponsored display ads and product targeting. The point is, you want to find ASINs where you have some kind of an advantage, or you have conversions from the search term report, and start to build that out in your product targeting campaigns, and then really start to build out that funnel with product targeting. I absolutely love product targeting. I think it's underutilized by sellers still. I think there's a lot of room for sellers to grow there. And we could talk so much about it, but did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, and I absolutely agree with you, Mike. One of the other things we love to do too is just do the once again the brand analytics that that you mentioned before. If you have that tool, a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
don't realize they'll show you the first most clicked, the second most clicked, and the third most clicked ASINs related to those search terms in that brand analytics report. So we love to do product targeting that way as well. But I love that the using Keepa and some of the other tools out there to pull ASINs. If you get advanced, you can even start doing some scraping with Chrome extensions, and there's all kinds of fun stuff. Once you get deep into that world, you can spend all day, like you said, getting
Yeah, and
creative.
let's talk about category targeting too, because category targeting is a way to do product targeting just on a category level. So what's really cool about this is if we have different parts of the funnel that we're trying to fill out, let's say we have the discovery part of the funnel where we're trying to get our ads out in front of more shoppers. We could take whole categories and test whole categories. Now, starting off with a lower bid, testing out these categories to see where we get some traction. And then from those categories, we're going to pull the ASINs and then target them later on down the funnel because we know that it connects with the shoppers. So then we could take those ASINs and put them in more into the consideration part of the funnel or the more buyer intent part of the funnel. So that would be a category targeting in the discovery phase is great, but then also you can use category targeting with refinements. So that basically means that you're targeting the ASINs within those categories where you have some kind of a competitive advantage. Maybe it's review star rating, maybe it's price, maybe it's prime eligibility. It could be all of those things. But now you're funneling or you're filtering out the ASINs in that category where you are better than your competition, and you're showing up there as well. So I love category targeting as well because it's going to help feed your funnel with ASINs that you can then target later on and start to build out that ASIN list.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I do the same thing. The other thing that, a lot of people don't realize is that you can target tons of different categories for super low bids. Like one of the categories I was targeting, I probably shouldn't tell this because I've been getting
Mm.
such a good deal on it. Everyone's going to go do it now.
Let's hear.
But movies and TV shows, like the movie and TV show category, nobody's
Whoa.
nobody's advertising on those, and there's because it's all digital, right? So it's tons and tons of digital products out there that nobody's advertising on because it might not relate to whatever you're selling. But if you just target, you like on the targeting, you can target movies and TV shows, like not just specific ones but the whole channel. So you can get some pretty crazy results there. So you guys can try that out. Hopefully it's in a couple of months after Q4 here, so you don't move in on my ads there. But
Yeah, and
that's
Andy,
a
also with DSP, if you have access to DSP or someone you know has access to DSP, you can actually go in and figure out the audience affinities and see which audience have some overlap, which is really cool. I was looking at that today, and you could type in, let's say, grill brush, and then get the top 30 categories based on grill brush. And you could find things like, fishing poles for grill brush because there's an overlap of the categories. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have like these super low ACoS campaigns. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But if you're starting to fill out your funnel, what better way to fill out your funnel than to go after audiences that are related to what you're selling? And then if you start off with a lower bid, you may show up on the bottom of the first page or maybe even the fourth page. But if somebody's browsing and they're seeing your product, they may come purchase your product later on, months down the line, because you did those category targeting campaigns.
Yeah, another good tip on that as well is the other thing I like to do is to go into books and pick out, books or categories of books that relate to your products, right? So say you're selling a bicycle or a water bottle, you can go and target books about cycling or, hiking or things like that. So that's another kind of hack there on those targeting ads. Like Mike said, we could deep dive on that probably for an entire episode. There's some really cool things you can do there. But Mike, what I want to talk about next is defensive advertising. There's so many people that don't do it, don't even understand what it is. Can you kind of talk about, do you guys do any defensive advertising for your clients and things like that? And if so, kind of explain what you guys do.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what defensive advertising is, go to Amazon right now and go to Genius Supplements. They do a fantastic job of defensive advertising. And essentially, what that is protecting the pathway to the purchase. So there's going to be shoppers who are going to go on your product detail page and they may stray to your competition. They may see something, another shiny object. They may see a nicer headline. They may see a lower price. All of these different things could take them off of your page and could then hurt your conversion percentage. So defensive advertising, one, can help improve your conversions because you're keeping people on your page and they're not straying as much. But two, it shows people that you have a diverse portfolio of products and you can actually swarm your product detail page and also the search result page with your own products. Now, a lot of sellers say, hey, well, doesn't that mean I'm paying for ad space that I wouldn't necessarily have to pay for because they're going to buy my product anyway? Well, maybe and maybe not. In fact, in Google, they recommend doing this because you can lose a good chunk of sales over time. And those shoppers would have come back to you over and over again, but now you're losing them to your competition. So you want to play defensive advertising. And this is great. What you can do, I highly recommend, is and this is easy to do, taking your own ASINs and doing sponsored display product targeting against your own ASINs, doing sponsored product ASIN targeting against your own ASINs, and even sponsored brand ads, because sponsored brand ads are now showing up on the product detail pages as well. And if you go and look on Amazon Genius supplements, you will see, go down their product page, you see nothing but Genius supplements. It is like crazy how good they've done this. So now that's what we do with our clients. If they have a diversified portfolio, that's great. If you have 2 or 3 SKUs, it doesn't work quite as well because, obviously there's other places for sellers to put their advertisements. But one other thing that you can do also is you can put a bundle, and a bundle is going to show up right below the bullet point section, and it's going to push down advertising. So if you have a couple of products, you can make a bundle, push your competition away from that buy box, keep people looking at your products, and just play defense.
That's solid. And what, excuse me, what most people don't realize is when you're advertising on your own product page, for example, the ACoS is going to be really, really low because because people are already expecting to buy that product. And so they're already, they're like, oh, there's a different color or there's a different variation or there's something similar. And so what we've noticed is on a lot of our defensive advertising, especially our keywords, our brand name, things like that, the ACoS is extremely low. We're talking like, 5% or something like that. So you can't look at it like, oh, I'm paying for somebody who's already going to buy. That might be true, but you're also saving, you're saving your sale. So, I mean, if you tack on 5% to what your normal ads spend would be anyway, it's really nothing in terms of the grand scheme of things. So yeah, I love that, Mike. And you did a good job explaining that.
Yeah,
So
and talking about the pathway for defensive advertising, when you think about it, if somebody is actually looking for your brand, they're going to type in your brand name or the name of your product, then you should show up at the very top, sponsored brand ad. So you're going to have a sponsored brand ad. That's that opportunity to introduce a new product. If you're trying to launch a new product, introduce that to an audience that already know, likes, and trust you. But then also below that, you have sponsored product ads. You want to make sure that you have sponsored product ads that are layered. And then, of course, you're probably going to have the organic visibility. So the whole page is likely going to be you. But I've seen a lot of cases where sellers don't do that. And, you can lose shoppers that way. And then, of course, like what we just discussed on the product detail page, you could just swarm that entire page.
absolutely, I love it. So on that same note, this is kind of on that same kind of theme. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'm on page one. I'm the third result. Should I turn off my PPC for that keyword or that placement or whatever?" I see it all the time, and I feel like it's never ending me, responding to that. So, Mike, I have to ask anybody who's a PPC related guest. I have to ask this question because we have to. I think we just have to continue to drill it into people's heads.
So can I give a one-word answer for this?
Yes.
No.
All right, absolutely. That's
Right. Yeah.
perfect.
So, look at the look at the full picture of your advertising and the impacts it's having. Look at the ad spend margin impact. Look at all of this stuff and ask yourself, do you really want to lose that sale? That sale is having an impact later on, helping you with so many other things. So I kind of went more than the one answer, but my answer to that is no, don't turn it off if it's working. But also look at the full picture. Look at the ad spend margin impact, look at the profitability, look at the organic to PPC sales ratio. And if all things are good, then just keep it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always like to tell people, the way I like to look at it is, the old adage, I think it was like you have to hear a brand 7 times before or see a product 7 times before you buy it, or hear a brand 7 times, I think is the old adage. I think it's even more now. But my whole thing is like the more you see that product on the page, the more likely you're going to click on it, right? It's just like the primal brain seeing something over and over again, being like, oh, I guess that's it, click, click. So that's the other thing that I really like to kind of point out We have a good question, which is, if you have one product with variations, do you advertise all the variations in the ads, or do you set up separate ads for each? I don't think she means separate ads. I think she means separate ad groups for each child ASIN.
Well, that's a good question. So likely one of those products or one of those variations is going to bring in the most amount of sales, the classic 80/20 principle. So I would focus in on that one ASIN first and really get that moving. And then, see if there's anything that's different about the other ASINs. You can then set them up maybe with their own unique keywords or just test them out to see how they perform relative to the ASIN that's getting the most amount of traffic. I would say though, most of the times the one or two SKUs from that group of SKUs is going to get the majority of the sales. I would start there and then branch out from there. You could do a separate campaign. I don't like putting multiple ASINs into one campaign because then it gets very much harder to really focus in on the targeting, like with placement modifiers and bid targeting and all that kind of stuff. I like to separate it out. That's my personal preference, but you could likely do it both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Vanessa, what we've done too in the past is if we're doing research, right? If we're in the research phase, like say with an auto campaign, sometimes we will put all the ASINs together and we kind of have them battle each other, right? And see which one performs the best, and then we'll start shutting the non-performers off. And just like Mike said, kind of the 80/20, leave the one or two that are most likely to convert on. And then spin up another campaign with the performers that the ones that weren't performing well, maybe at a lesser bid or something like that. So there's some things you can do to kind of play with those setups. But yeah, I always like to go for the high performers, and especially if it's a variation listing, then that one ASIN will, if it's showing up early in the list or in the search results, then when they click there, your other ASINs are automatically going to be, going to automatically get rank boost and purchases from that one strong ASIN. All right, Mike, we're at one of my favorite times of the episode, which is I love to hear about what people are reading, podcasts, motivational materials. Kind of what are you one of those people who listens to like Audible everywhere you drive around? Are you one of those who's like, I'm in the car, I want silence? Like what are you into right now in terms of learning, personal development, anything like that?
So my answer to that is both. I love silence. I start my day every morning with meditation. I'll do about 30 minutes of chilling with a little bit of YouTube music, and I put on this frequency vibrational music, and it gets me in the right state. Then I perk up some coffee and I get to work for an hour, and then I hit the gym. So I think silence and internal silence is critical for creativity and also for peace of mind. But then I like to learn. I really miss events. I really truly miss events. Online events don't do it for me quite as much, but I learn through going to events and I learn through podcasts and books. Currently, I'm reading a book on relationships. A girl that I'm dating told me to read it or suggested it, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'll read that book. I like to learn about a diverse group of topics. Personal growth development, mindset, business strategies, advertising. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've been listening to your podcast. I've been listening to even my competitors' podcasts, just absorbing all sorts of information to just, be as diversified as I can. And it's never ending. I never feel like I know it all ever. So
Yeah.
yeah, Andy, I love to learn and grow. In fact, I don't feel good if I'm not learning and growing. I quickly lose my confidence if I'm not learning and growing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's, the people who really excel know that they don't know everything and they're always trying to learn. And even if they think they're the top person in their field or whatever, they should always be, looking at other people, because people are always turning dials and always figuring things out and always finding a better way of doing something. So to me, if you're not doing that, then you're going to lose to the people who are. So definitely stay hungry when it comes in terms of learning, guys. All right. So, Mike, what's next? Tell people where they can find you, where they can learn about your tools, where they can learn about, do you have YouTube channels? Anything you want to share right now to let people reach out and see what you're up to?
Yeah. So first off, if you're listening to this, it may be after the Days of Nuggets, but we're still going to have the website live. So please head on over to daysofnuggets.com and consider donating $89 or more to get access to like incredible nuggets from amazing people in the space. And that money will go towards Operation Underground Railroad to help fight child slavery. So that's what I'm working on right now. We have a couple days left. And then PPC Entourage, we're working on integrating all the different ad platforms into our autopilot. And we're also working on building out the margins tool. I have big plans for the margins tool. Right now, it's very much in its infancy, but there's a lot of people that are open to the idea of helping me build it. So I'm really excited about that. And who the hell knows what the future is going to bring, but bring it on. I'm excited to see where I head next.
All right, awesome, Mike. Thank you so much. And Mike, just like I tell everyone, the state of Idaho welcomes you with open arms. If
Oh, I
you're
know, Andy. I know. I'm stuck in
uh,
New York.
yeah, I know. We just heard that our county is locked down again till like January 9th back in California. So we're like, whew, we made it out just in the nick of time. All
Oh,
right,
good.
guys.
Nice.
Thank you so much for joining us. As usual, we really appreciate everybody who joined us live, guys. Thank you so much. If you have not joined us live before, make sure you get on here live. You get to, get all the stuff right now, which would be Q4 stuff, that we're talking about that would make a huge impact. So make sure you join us live, guys. sellerroundtable.com/live. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time is when we do this. You get to come in, you get to talk to great minds like Mike and Amy. And, I get to be the jester with the funny hat on like this. So thank you guys so much for listening and being with us. And if you haven't yet, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We really, really appreciate it. We continue to grow. We continue to kind of to get a little bit more well known in the space, which is awesome because Amy, we've been at this for a while, so that's really nice to see, guys. Yeah, so it's nice to see, guys. Really thank you for that, and we will see you next time on the Seller Roundtable.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for live Q&A and bonus content after the recording at sellerroundtable.com. Sponsored by the ultimate software tool for Amazon sales and growth, sellerseo.com and amazingathome.com.